Welcome back to Right to Rise Collective. I'm your host, Leslie Wall. This is a podcast for women rising through story, creativity, and purpose. And today I am so incredibly honored to introduce a personal friend, a client, and somebody that truly, truly inspires me, Michelle Barzalo. She is a powerhouse creative with a heart rooted in healthcare. Michelle is the founder and the chief creative officer of Mommy Works Design Studio, where she uses medical background and creative brilliance to help women in healthcare translate their mission into stunning, effective visual branding. Michelle's journey is nothing short of inspiring. She is the first generation high school, college, and graduate school graduate. From processing surgical specimens and performing autopsies as a pathology's assistant to pivoting into design work after her own personal healthcare crisis, Michelle embodies resilience, reinvention, and creative entrepreneurship. And today we're so incredibly honored to hear her story of transition, what it means to embrace the pivot, and how she's blending science and storytelling to uplift other women healers. Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so incredibly excited to talk to you.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction. It brought me to tears. Every now and then we need to kind of hear what we've done and what we've overcome just to remind us of who we are. And I really appreciate that intro, and I appreciate you, and I'm so excited to talk today.
Yay, me too. Yeah, I think that most people's responses from the introductions that I've done recently, and they're all the people that are guesting, a guest on my podcast right now are really near and dear to my heart. It's not just random people coming in. They're people that are in my world and in my inspired author program, and I am able to see them in a different lens. And I think sometimes it's good to hear parts of our stories that we might have forgotten and that we don't honor anymore. So
Very true.
yeah. So my favorite part about you, well, one of my favorite parts about you is I'm obsessed with Patricia Cornwell. I'm obsessed with autopsies and all this dark investigative journalism and things like that. That's what I read for pleasure. And when we connected, you were a real life person that did that. So I want to hear more about that life and what was the turning point for you for what you do now?
Okay, so I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, autopsies! How do you do that? Ew, gross!" And I'm like, "Oh my God, let's have dinner over the body I'm doing an autopsy on." Like, it doesn't faze me.
Yeah,
Since I was younger, it's work. It's, somebody has to do it, right?
yeah.
But it all started in high school. And it actually started with the O.J. Simpson case. And I became fascinated with it. And I became fascinated with Henry Lee, who was one of the medical examiners that proceeded over the case. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I love science. I love the puzzle. I love solving things. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the next Henry Lee. So I planned my life on becoming a forensic pathologist. I was like, I'm going to go to I'm going to major in biology, be pre-med. I'm going to go to medical school. And that was my life plan. Unfortunately, along the way, a lot of things happened and I had to pivot. When I was in college, when you go to college, you're like, oh, you do pre-med, follow this track. And I took organic chemistry my sophomore year, and that was not going so well. And so I dropped the class. And so I was like, okay, I'm
I'm
going to put the
familiar.
year. I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm familiar with OChem not going well.
So I dropped it and I was like, I'm going to do it senior year. So I did all my major and minor requirements beforehand. And senior year, I did organic chemistry. And then I had like dance and art and all those like fluffy, easy classes. So I can really focus on organic chemistry. So that pushed me back from applying to med school because I didn't finish the requirements needed to do the MCATs. And so I decided to work at when I graduated, I decided to go into the workforce, and I was like, I'm going to work in medicine. I'm going to explore other fields just to make sure there's nothing else out there for me. And so I worked in psychiatry, and I worked in OBGYN, and I did research, and I loved it, but it just wasn't for me. Like, my heart was calling me. I was like, I need to do forensic pathology. So I took my MCATs, and I started to apply for med schools, and then I got into a car accident. And fortunately, I was okay, but the car accident was significant enough that I closed the highway down. It was a 5-car pileup. I was the first car in the pileup. My life flashed before my eyes. And so after that, I went home. I'm sorry, it gives me chills just remembering it.
Yeah.
And I sat there, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, my life has just flashed before my eyes. What do I want to do with my life? And so I just started evaluating everything. Relationships, career paths, jobs, everything. And I decided that I didn't, like, as much as I love pathology, I didn't want to go to another 4 years of med school and then 4 years of residency and more training and spend like another 10, 15 years training before I can do what I want for a career. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I felt lost. I was scared because that was like my dream. That's like, what am I going to do? And I don't remember how I came across it, but I came across what's known as the pathologist assistant program. And the best way to describe it is like a physician assistant specialized in pathology. So the degree is tailored to, you do a lot of same courses like physician assistants, but then you get like that double dose of anatomy classes, pathology classes. You learn surgical pathology, you learn cytology pathology, you learn autopsy pathology, like you learn all the pathologies. And I was like, oh my God. And it was a 24-month intensive program. And I was like, 2 years and I can do what I want to do. I don't get the credit or the pay that a forensic pathologist does, but I get to do the work that I really wanted to do. And so I said, screw it. The best program for the pathologist assistant was actually in the town next to where I was living. And so I applied for that program, and I applied for a couple others, went on a couple of road trips to explore them. And I got into the program right next door to me. And so I was like, that's it. I'm doing this. So 2 years straight, I studied. It was literally like eat, sleep, study, and do my clinicals. Like, that's all I did for 2 years, and I graduated. And I was working in the field of my dreams, basically. So I was able to work at the ME's office for a while, so I got to see a lot of things that people shouldn't see. All my like Patricia Cornwell books came to life, basically.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I mean, like, it's just, and I mean, I know people are like, oh my God, that's morbid, but it's exciting, and it's like the science behind it. It's the puzzle. It's investigating. It's trying to figure out like what went wrong, what's going wrong, what happened. Surgical pathology is the same way. There's no cases that's the same. There's always that case where you're gonna find something different, and it was amazing. Like, I loved it. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And then I got pregnant, and I had my first child, and then I was like, wait a minute, I need someone to watch my child. So I was under the false hope that my mom was gonna retire and take care of my kid, and she was like, nope, no, I'm not. I'm like, uh-oh. So my husband and I are like, okay, what are we going to do? So I started looking for daycares, and I was working in New York City at the time, and daycare in New York City was absolutely ridiculous. And I'm like, I'm going to basically work and give my paycheck to daycare.
Yep.
So then I started exploring other opportunities, and I found a position working overnight. So I was like, I got this. I'm going to work overnight, and then I'll watch the baby during the day, and I don't have to pay for daycare, right? So I get the best of both worlds. I learned a very hard lesson. You don't get the best of both worlds. So, like, me and my husband, we had it set up, he would put the baby to sleep really late, like around midnight, so she can sleep till like 10. So when I came home at 6, I can get like 3 hours of sleep. Like, it was this whole science. Again, like, I'm a very scientific person, and I'm like, everything's a science. Like, there's a way to do it. And I would nap when she would nap, and then my husband would come home. I'll take a couple hour nap and then go to work and rinse and repeat and do the whole thing over and over again. And then I got pregnant again, and again, thinking I was superwoman and, I'm taking care of my kid and I'm working. I kept doing that while I was pregnant. So I had my second daughter, and my body was just like, joke is on you. Like, yay. I carried, my daughter was born a month, or my second daughter was born a month early. And that right there was like my first indicator. Like I had high blood pressure. They're like, I'm like, of course I have high blood pressure. I'm working overnight. My back hurts. I got a toddler, like a baby. Like,
Yeah.
but that was me lying to myself. That was me just trying to, like, being in denial. Like I wasn't mistreating my body. And so my body was like, joke's on you. So after my maternity leave was up, I still wasn't feeling well and I wasn't doing well. They ran a battery of tests on me, and I was eventually diagnosed with an autoimmune. And with this autoimmune, it was ankylosing spondylitis, so it basically is early arthritis in my lower back. And it makes it hard to sit. It was hard to stand. It was hard to walk.
Yeah.
There were times when I needed like a walker, or I remember going for an MRI and I flared up so much that they had to, like, I was in so much pain, they had to put me in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. And
Yeah.
I was just, okay, how can I go back? Like, I have two little ones, under two, right? I have a 2-year-old and a newborn. How am I going to go back to work? So I spoke with my job and I'm like, look, this is my situation. Can I work part-time, right? Just to give myself more time to heal. And they said no. I'm like, okay, can I work from home? Because a lot of like the SOPs, training manuals, a lot of that needed to be updated, created. I was a supervisor at that time, and they did not agree with me. And I was like, okay. So I sat with my husband and we had that hard conversation. And I'm like, you know what? And for my health, I need to resign. Like I needed to focus on taking
Yeah.
care of myself. And that was by far, one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, because I've always been independent. I've always worked. I've never like had to depend on someone else. I never had to deal with an illness. I never had to like it was just so much all at once. And it was scary. Like we went from 2 incomes to 1. And so I took the time, focused on myself, focused on the babies, and then I was like, okay, like I was ready to go back, but I'm like, no, I can't go back because now I have to pay daycare for 2 kids. So it's like that might not be in our cards. So being independent, that's when I started my entrepreneurial journey, and it's funny because if you would have asked me, hey, are you gonna own your own business? I'd have been like, you're crazy. Like, no way. Not a chance. Like, that's just not me. I've never worked in sales. I've never worked in retail. I've been working in hospitals since I was 13 years old. Started volunteering at 13, and then when I was able to get paid, then I started, getting paid to be in the hospital. And so eventually, I started, I was like, all right, I need to do something. So for my daughter's birthday, I made a tutu dress, and everyone fell in love with it. And they're like, you should make that as a business. And I'm like, okay. So I started to make tutus and tutu dresses, and it was fun to begin with. But then I was getting feedback on like the prices, that it was too high. And I'm like, but you want to pay just the cost of material, and it doesn't work. So I was like, screw this, it's not worth the headache. And the time I had to create was getting less because the girls were getting bigger and more mobile and needed more attention. And so then I decided to become part of a network marketing company, which was completely out of my comfort zone. But I tried anyway because I'm like, you know what? I like the products, and it seems easy enough. It was not easy for me. Oh, I'm able to admit my weaknesses, and that was definitely one of them. That was not my strength.
Yeah.
Then I decided, okay, I'm also one of those people, like, if it can happen to me, if it can happen to you, it'll happen to me. And, like, I have stories for days, and everyone's like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, oh, yeah, that did. So I was talking with my friend, and she's like, you should start a blog and just share your stories, because, man, you go through it, and only stuff like that happens to you. So then I started a mommy blog, and that was cool, and it was fun, but I didn't really monetize it the way I needed to monetize it. And so I'm like, okay. So then I sat there and I met with a business coach, and we would just talk. And I met her online. And I'll tell you something. I was totally against social media. I had nothing. I didn't have MySpace. I didn't have none of that. No Facebook. No nothing. But with business, everyone's like, you need to have it. So I created accounts with like weird names just so that people couldn't tie it back to me. Like, this is how paranoid I was, and this is how much I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But then I realized, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And I've met some amazing people online. And so I met a business coach, and we were talking, and she's like, let's just have a one-on-one call. And I'm like, okay. And so this was right after COVID started. Right after then I had my third child. So it was right after I had my third child. And we were talking, and she was like trying to help me figure out what I could do next to make a business and to make it successful. And when it came down to it, what came forward and what shined through was my creativeness. And like ever since high school, I've been the go-to person for everything creative, right? So projects, presentations, flyers, everything. When I volunteer, I'm the one that makes all the flyers. Invitations for birthday parties, I'm the one that designs and makes all the invitations. Even just doing events, like from my Sweet 16 all the way to my wedding and birthday parties, they're always creative and it's always extravagant. Like, I've always had that creative mind. And so she was like, why don't you do graphic design? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, that sounds good. So she was actually looking to hire a graphic designer. She's like, I'm putting you to the test. And I'm like, I'm up for it. Let's do this. And so she gave me some captions. She's like, just create an image. And I did. She's like, blown away. She's like, oh my God, you're amazing. And so I was like, I am, aren't I? That's how Mommy Works Design Studio was born.
Oh,
Then my friend was starting her business and she's like, hired. I'm like, all right. So the beginning was nice and easy. I had a whole bunch of clients. A lot of it was referral. And then I had my fourth baby and my autoimmune flared up again, unfortunately. And so I had to take a step back for a bit just so I can, again, focus on my health. But during that time, I also reflected. Again, another reflecting period. Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And my mom called me and she's like, I just talked with your aunt and she was telling me how your uncle loves you so much because I saved his life. And I'm like, what do you mean I saved his life? And a few years ago, he had cancer and he wasn't really getting information on the treatments and his options. So I sat down with him and I explained all the options to him and the pros and the cons of what they did. And I helped him make a decision. And he credits being alive to me for helping him make the right decision. And that,
aw.
again, it was kind of like a slap in the face. Like, like healthcare is your thing. Like, like health is your thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. Like, like I said, since 13, I've been working in hospitals. And so that's when I decided to take my graphic design business and focus on working on helping healthcare workers and those in the health and
Yeah.
wellness business, because I can still use my knowledge and it might not be serving as a healthcare professional, so to say, but I'm still using my knowledge to help serve and help educate the community, which is really needed nowadays.
Yeah.
And like now, like I'm really excited. A lot of opportunities are coming up. And it finally feels like, with all the pivots, all the changes, everything that happened, like the hurdles, the obstacles, everything's coming into alignment now. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. You're in my Inspired Author program. You came to me with this story of the power of the pivot. It sounds like you left a job that you were really, really passionate about, and maybe that you did it for growth in your family and growth in your life. I guess my question for you is, did you feel like that was a natural marrying that you needed? You were still you're in this design space, you've created this incredible company, but did you feel like before you made the connection with healthcare workers, did you feel like something was kind of missing, or that you had done all of this education and like your life's work up until that point was in medicine? So yeah, do you feel like you were missing that element?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I was definitely missing something. I was missing
Yeah.
the healthcare aspect. Like has been my passions since I was 13. So we're like, what,
Yeah.
30 years now? Not to date
Yeah.
myself, but yeah, for a very long time, that's my passion. And so like to be able to make that connection has been, like I said, very fulfilling. Like it just
Yeah.
is like, it makes me know I'm where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, I think for the reason I'm asking that is because when you do have these pivots that you speak of in life, and when life does get hairy and rough, which it does for all of us, it's what are you going to do with that, And like I know leaving medicine for me, I also have been in medicine my whole life, and it was this grieving process, but then you start questioning, why would God put you through that whole road, and all of this education and have all of this knowledge and then just walk away from it? But then there is this moment where you're like, I can have both. I can serve both. I can serve both powerfully. I can marry this. And what you've done too is we've seen, especially after COVID, we've seen more and more healthcare workers leaving traditional medicine, me being one of them. And several of the authors in my program have stepped out and become independent nurses. You know, we own our own businesses and healthcare and wellness companies. And we don't have that design knowledge. Or I know for me, I didn't know anything about running a business. I had no idea what to do with accounting. How do I make money? What do I do with the money when I make it? You know, what does graphic design look like? How am I supposed to make these ads? So for someone like me leaving healthcare, it wasn't that I was stupid or didn't have the capacity to learn, but I definitely don't have the time to run my company and figure out how to do design work. So I love that you're in this space and serving. You've picked a niche that you understand because it's your home. That's where your heart is. So people will naturally gravitate towards you for that.
And it also makes it easier because now, like, I'm a mom of four. You know, my kids range in age from 3 to 13. So I have that wide range of ages that I'm dealing with. So, you know, you have the toddlers where you're grooming them.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, as they get older, it gets easier. It does not get easier. The problems just change. So now, like, you have the teenager who wants to be independent and, like, you know, is always pushing back kind of thing. So being able to really focus on what I'm passionate about and creating the two makes it easier to like get the work done.
Sure.
And you know, like I would have never thought. Like I'm still learning as I go. Like I'm not by far the perfect business owner. Like I'm learning as I go. But that's part of the process, and that's part like again like and that's makes it fun. Like yeah, there are ups and downs, and there's the days when I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I just want to cry. I just want to sleep. Like you know, it's not easy at all. Like you know, and I do cry and I do sleep.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, the end goal is what I'm striving for, and that's to be able to like have both passions, combine it. But then I also have the flexibility to be there for the kids.
Yeah.
And it's been again like it's at the beginning it was really hard to see, but now looking back at everything, I'm like, okay, now because I left, I was able to catch this daughter's illness early. Because of my knowledge, I was able to catch this one, you know, needing extra help. Like I've been able to see a lot of things that I don't think I would have been able to see if I wasn't around as much as I am.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Absolute. Gosh, yeah. To have those little moments back, that's any parent's dream, I would think. And I'm not personally a parent, so I'm always blown away because I feel like overwhelmed taking care of my dog, you know, and it's baffling to me. So I do want to know a little bit more about how do you juggle motherhood, your creative space, and feeding your business, and your own healing journey.
A lot of it is just routine, and I don't have the perfect balance yet. You know, there are days and I'm like, yeah, I did it today, and then there's where I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that was just rough. Like, and like and with the kids, it's a lot of it. Like, it's just there's so much unpredictability, right? So, I'm like now all four kids are in school 4 days a week. They're all in school for like at least 2.5 hours together. So now I'm able to take that time and allot it to working and getting stuff done. But usually I get work done when they sleep. So after night, it's right now, it's like even now, it's 10:30 p.m. my time. And here I am like, let's be on a podcast. But it's making it work for me. So it's like they're sleeping, everyone's upstairs, everyone's asleep, everyone's good. And I'm able to come down and focus. And I've really had to learn how to also just because in the beginning, like I was like everything for the kids, but this year I decided like this year it's time for me, because for the past 13 years it's been all about the kids, and there are things where you know health issues that I need to address and I need to stay on top of, and so it's really this year especially, to being able to give myself grace. Like, like I have a set schedule. I know what I'm going to do. I set tasks. I have a to-do list because I like to check things off and see that I'm getting things done. And then it's sticking to that, but also building in the unpredictability, right? So I have my client work and I'm like, okay, I can turnaround time is going to be 2 weeks, but it could be a week. It's just I really build in that extra time for the unpredictability. So if a kid gets sick, if one of my kids doesn't sleep through the night, if I have to pick one up early from school, and let me tell you, this for about 2.5 months this year, it was rotating back to back to back to back, and it was like nonstop. But it was being able to be like, all right, so I'm giving myself grace. I built them the time that I need. I'm making sure I go to sleep. I'm making sure to go outside and just be in the sunlight because I'm like, I'm gonna exercise and take care of myself. And yes, I have a treadmill here, but it's not the same like walking outside. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna walk outside. I'm making sure that like my neighbors and friends say, okay, I'm going to let's go for a walk together to make sure to get that like chat in with other humans and other adults. So it's really been focusing on the little things and just giving myself grace when it doesn't work out as it's planned. But again, it's still like I'm still fine tuning it. Like there's still days when I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired. And then there's days when I'm like, check me out. Like I got this. Like I'm good.
That's so funny. Yeah, I can relate to that. There's very few days that I'm like that where I'm like, yes, I did it, but when I do get one of those, it feels good.
And I laugh because you say like having a dog is, and like I always say, like we live vicariously through our neighbors. My kids want a pet, and I'm like, no way at all, because I had a neighbor who had a pet. It's like having a kid. You got to take them to the vet, nails in the water. I'm good. So I would say you can relate completely.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll even go as far as like our dog doesn't eat kibble. She's never had dog food. She eats human grade food, so we cook for her. And it really is. It's something that you constantly have to think about and prioritize. So, yes, I can relate there, but she doesn't ever talk back either. And she's just the sweetest thing in the world. But well, let's pivot a little bit. Pivot, pun intended. You came to me with a pretty powerful idea. Our first initial session together, I think we masterminded 7 book ideas because I lived in New Orleans. I'm obsessed with anything Patricia Cornwell, any kind of the dark stuff. I've also worked as a legal nurse. I know a lot of dark stuff that has happened and I'm intrigued by it. And I stayed on the phone with you forever picking your brain about that. And I really, really want you to write some books about your work before. But our first book that we are working on is The Power of the Pivot. And I would like for you, let's tell us everything, actually. What is the major theme here? You've spoke a little bit about your story and your pivots that you've had in your life. So let's talk about how you're turning that into a book.
Mm-hmm. So I have a very long story, and there's been a lot of points in my life. Okay, my whole life has been filled with adversity. Born and raised in Spanish Harlem, low income, battling the stereotypes associated with being Latina, being Puerto Rican, making sure that I was able to get out of my neighborhood, being the first in my family to graduate high school and college and go on to graduate school. From that, and then dealing with, college and being in the workforce and all that. So, like, I've just had so many things happen, and I know for me personally, like, I'm inspired when I hear other people share their story. Mainly because it makes me feel like I'm not alone, right? Like, this happens to other people. Because when you're going through those difficult times, like, it's only in hindsight now that I could be like, wow, that was a turning point. Wow, I learned this from it, But when you're going through it, it sucks. Like, it sucks. You feel alone. You want to cry. Like, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to handle it. And so I decided to write the book. It's called Uprooted and Unstoppable, Embracing the Power of the Pivot. Why? Because there's been multiple times where I've been uprooted. I've been taken out of my comfort zone, but that hasn't stopped me. That's only fueled me to continue to go. And I've had many people try to hold me down. I have many obstacles come my way. But in the end, I've always found a way to go around it, get through it. And I want to be able to share that so other people know that they can get through it. And and life might, like I said in the beginning, like I was like, I'm gonna be a forensic pathologist. That's it, no ifs, ands, or buts, right? So I started like that, but now I'm a graphic designer. I own my own business, and like I said, you would ask me that like a couple years. When I was younger, I would be like, no way. But by sharing my story, I can help other people know that they're not alone, but
Yeah.
also just start to give them the idea of how they can pivot, how they can
Yeah.
adjust. Help them start to see early on, like, this could be the outcome of it. Like it doesn't have to be a bad pivot. It could be leading to someplace even better that you never thought of.
Yep.
And it's funny now that I say this out loud. It's kind of like I'm doing the same thing with my oldest daughters, my oldest two daughters. They're 11 and 13. So it's like the same thing with them. Like I'm sharing my story with them, so they don't have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Because I want them to succeed. Like I think there's room for all of us. I think everyone should succeed. I think a lot of the things that I've learned is like to change is okay, but also to ask for help. And that's one thing that could still be hard for me. But by asking for help, it's helped me start a business. Like I spoke with a business coach to say like, help me. How can I start another business? Like, what's the business for me? And that's how I came to graphic design. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the same thing for like other women, other business owners. Like like it's okay for you to ask for help. So like you say, oh, I have this business. I know nothing about graphic design, right? But you're saying, okay, I need help. Michelle, can you help me? And be like, that's okay to help. Like it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's like the main point. It's just being able to share the stories, inspire people, know they're not alone, know what can happen, know how to deal with it. Yeah, yeah, I'm like, yeah, like, and I'm excited about it because, like you said, like I have 50 million different book ideas. And again, it kind of ties back to like my blogging, like me blogging, like, because so much stuff has happened to me, and people are like, yeah, no, that can't happen to you. Like, even like
Yeah.
the past 2 months when I'm like, oh, yeah, like I kind of went off the grid a little bit, and it's because like literally was getting slammed with things, and people like, I'm like, I can't even make this up if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I've come to accept that that's what happens, or for at least that's what can happen. But being able to like embrace it and be like, okay, yes, it's a rough road, but we're gonna get through it. And then learning the tools to get through it and not feel so bogged down by it.
There's several things that I want to speak to there. You spoke about being a minority Latina in a very rough upbringing. That must have been incredibly scary, and you probably didn't know how to use your voice or tell those stories, and you probably were in this headspace. I'm not trying to make assumptions here, so tell me if I'm off, but like, do you feel like it did you use your words to fight, or like did you understand how powerful your story was, or was the dialogue in your head really your story doesn't matter? Your story at first, like, is that you really shouldn't, nobody cares about that story. Is that kind of
I
what's going through your head and why you didn't start this book before?
So beforehand, it was okay. So growing up, it wasn't scary. It was because I was used to it. Like that was the way I grew up at. Like that was life. Like it. So it wasn't scary to me, so to say. But my parents, they they knew what was out there, and they basically like I was in jail. Like they didn't let me out my house. I was in my house the whole time. Like I couldn't go hang out with friends. I couldn't do anything. Um, I've known. I was fortunate though. Like they helped me know I do have a voice to a certain extent because
Yeah.
I was from middle school. I can remember very first time that I remember facing racism. I went to middle school, and the middle school was predominantly Caucasian, and I was fortunate that a teacher had identified me as being really smart and gifted, and so she got me into a middle school that was not in my district. So it was a predominantly white middle school, and one of the teachers, my math teacher actually, I was struggling in math, and in New York State you take the Regents, and she was like, "Don't take the Regents, just wait till you get to high school because you're not doing good." And I was like, excuse me? Like, you're telling me not to do something?" She's like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I was like, "Can you help me?" She's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to help you." And I'm like, "You're not going to help me?" So I went home and I cried, and I'm telling my, like, she won't help me. She said not to take the test, like, but this is what I need to get good grades, blah, blah, blah. And my mom was like, "So what do you need to do?" And I'm like, "I need to study." She's like, "Okay, what do you need to study?" And I'm like, "I need these books." So she took me to the bookstore, and we bought Barnes & Noble was on 86th Street and Lexington Avenue. I never forget. Walked in, I got my Red Baron's Regent Study Guide, and I went home and I studied, and we took the Regents, and I ended up getting the highest grade in the class. And I was studying, and then I was like, "Ha, ha," and I was like, she was like, "I'm sorry," and I'm like, "Yep, nope, too late." Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it from the teacher. So, like, from that point, like, from a very early age, I knew that I can stick up for myself.
I love
Um,
that.
and then there was also um, another time as well when and this was in church actually. Like the priest said something, and I just looked at him and I wasn't thrilled with what he said. And then I happened to fall, and he came to me. He's like, "I saw you took a trip back there," and I'm like, "I fell down a flight of steps. Like, how is that like like how are you trying to make a joke of that? Like, is that
Yeah.
funny?" And then like 5 minutes later, he fell down the same flight of steps, and I was like, "I saw you took a trip back there." Like, and so just like little things like that, people trying to tell like hold me back, just saying I can't do something because I'm Latina, I can't do something because I'm a woman, like, or just making fun of me has always been, I've been against it, and it might actually stem from my parents. And, like, so my parents are like, "You can't do this." So I got told my whole life, like, I can't leave the house. I can't have
Mm,
friends. I can't have people
mm.
call me. I can't do this. And I'm like, "Yeah, watch me." Um, so I think that's where I got the strength from. And then also
Yeah.
just the support of my mom being like, "Okay, what do you need to do? Like, I can't do it for you. I don't know how to help you. What do you know how to do?" But just
Yeah.
her being there to give me that strength to do it. Um, and then like I've always said it. I was like, I need to write a book. Like I need to
Yeah.
write a book. I need to write a book. But I think what happened is you came into my life and you encouraged me, and it's like meeting the right people at the right time that are going to support you and help you and be like, "Yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you have a book. Yeah, there's a simple way to do it." Like, that's what really made me say, like, "You know what? It's time to do it," because of the connection I made with you and how authentic you are and how enthusiastic you are about the writing process and how supportive you are and how like we sat there for hours talking the first day. So it's really thanks to you that I'm really able to just get it out and share my
Yeah.
story. And I do it all the time. Like I've spoken at schools before and spoken with high school students and share my story. Um, and I'm very open to share my story again because I want people to like no they're not alone. So but this I'm excited to get the book out and like have it out there so like the world can see. And I thank you for that.
Of course. I feel so honored to be on this journey with people and have created a platform for underserved people and people who felt like their voices were silenced or I Hoala Publishing is all about catering to women, minorities, people who may not have had a platform before or they get turned away from traditional publishing houses because for whatever reason I wanted people like you. You are my dream client. And another huge piece of that too is I'm Southern and my mother is baby of 12. They literally had 12 children to work the farm. You have enough kids so that you have late farm labor. And so I grew up in a culture that was storytelling, and that was about all we had with each other was the gift of being present with each other. We didn't have a lot of stuff and a lot of material, but we had these really rich stories and imaginations, and I fell in love with storytelling through that. And now I have the privilege to live in Hawaii where storytelling is very much a part of the culture here as well. And it's one of my favorite things to do, to sit with someone and listen to their story. And I think a lot of the reason I went into medicine and didn't want to be, my path was actually to go to med school. And I wanted more time with patients, so I did go to nursing. And that's my favorite thing to do, is to talk story with my patients. And it not only sharpened me as a nurse because I heard those nuances, but it allowed those patients and people to feel safe and heard, and they were able to unlock parts of their story that might really be integral to what was going on with their health at the time. And now I've just kind of bridged it into the work that I'm doing now as a book coach. And I'm curious, because you've talked about when you came to me, you were like overwhelmed with stories. You want eager to write this book, but you didn't really have much direction. You had started and stopped. You'd had a blog. You love writing. I'm curious, how has it been to have a coach, the accountability, some of the tools that I've created? Has it simplified the process for you and made you fall back in love with writing?
Yes, it definitely has, because it's for me personally, what I need accountability, right? So if I'm gonna be like, I'm writing a book and I'm gonna do it myself, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit and write, and then the kid is gonna fall and cry, and I'm gonna run to take care of the kid, and I
Yeah.
won't, like, I'll get distracted and I'll forget about it. But when
Yeah.
I'm being held accountable to someone, like, you're like, okay, I need you to write 2 chapters in the next 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I gotta do it now. Okay, like, I gotta sit down and I gotta get this done because I have to turn in. Like, not that I'm a people pleaser, like, but I'm a people pleaser. You know what I mean? Like, or a teacher's pet. Like, like I want to be the good student. I want to be like, here, teacher, I did my homework. I did what I'm supposed to do. So like, I'm really good at like holding myself accountable when other people are there to like when I have to do something for somebody else. Like, so I'm creating it because there's a deadline because you told me to do it. So it makes it, for me,
Yeah.
that's how I work.
Yeah.
And again, because as a mom, the kids are always going to come first, but now I'm like, no, like I have to also do this for this person, so I'm going to get it done. So it's definitely been a lot easier. You've given great guidance, great support. The tools have been wonderful to use, and it just makes it so much easier to be like, all right, I can do this. Whereas some
Yeah.
people think, oh my God, I'm gonna write a book, it's horrible. Or nowadays, especially with like AI and ChatGPT, people are like, oh, I'll write a book with ChatGPT. But you can tell the difference. So, at
Yeah.
first I'm like, okay, should I just use it? I'm like, no, like I have a voice, and um like it needs to come through. So like just being able, like, even the simplest trick you told me, which I would have never thought of myself, but like you don't have to write your story, you don't have to type your story, you can just say it and do the voice to text, and like that has made it so much easier. I'm like, mind blown, like why did I think of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I'm obsessed with movies, from like period movies from like different periods in history. And a lot of the military leaders would dictate their book to somebody that would type it. So they would just be talking to somebody that was writing it, or a scribe or somebody. And that, I was like, oh my God, especially my brain. I have ADHD, and I'm like, I can write a whole book on a hike in my head just through the stories that are coming through. So I learned that technique out here in Hawaii. I would go for a hike and then just speak into my phone and type it out, and realize that I had almost an entire book just from thoughts that were flowing through my head. And I love that you spoke about AI, because, yeah, I mean, you can absolutely write your entire book using AI, but, and I think there's a lot of companies that are doing that right now. I teach AI is an incredible tool, but you're not really writing your story if you are not writing your story, and part of this writing process and part of earning a book and publishing a book is digging and excavating these stories out of you, and that time of reflection. And so AI is a wonderful tool to use to brainstorm
Yeah.
and come up with different topics or maybe organize your thoughts, but it should never be what you use to fully flesh out things. So
Exactly.
thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, the Inspired Author program, the way that I've designed it is to be more of a healing for my clients. It's not only are you writing and publishing a book, but you're moving through those stories. You're moving through some of the stuff that might have lived in you and blocked you from your vision or your creative process. You know, maybe through this process, you're able to see the bigger vision for your business. I think that is what the program is really more about. It's not about writing some garbage book and being a published author. It's about a healing process that unfolds through the writing process. And I think that you're absolutely going through it.
It's so
Yeah.
true. Like you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of things when as like creating the outline for the book and remembering of the like some of the more monumental pivots that I've had to make. Remembering them, but also remembering all the little things that led up to it. And I'm like, oh wow, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, like so it's like kind of like bringing it out, but also just releasing it because I'm getting it out of my mind, getting it onto paper, getting
Yeah.
it like out, and it's definitely been therapeutic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was something that I learned publishing my first children's book was just how healing it was. And it was a period in my life where I was healing. I was very sick when I published my first book, and it was forcing me to get out more. And I don't know. Writing and publishing it was healing, but then I started reading it to schools and having children, come my whole community rallied around me when I published that book. And seriously, like the whole community came to my parents' house to get the book
Wow,
signed, and like
that's
I
amazing.
don't even care how much money I make off of that. I will never forget that. An entire community of people coming. I sold organically like 800 copies of my book
Wow.
from people just in my parents, my network, and they just wanted to support me. And then the friendships and the connections that happened from there, and then realizing that that book was starting conversations that led people to my business and my coaching, and now it's become my lifeline and what I teach people to do. So you never know where the power of the pivot book is going
Yeah,
to actually
exactly.
pivot you to.
Exactly.
It's really like dedicating that time and effort to creating this book, but this is also going to open so many incredible doors for you once this book is out there in the world. So I'm really excited to be working with you. I love you so much. I know that you're working on some incredible stuff too. Tell people about the it's a workbook, right?
I have a checklist, a
Okay.
workbook. So as I realigned myself to doing graphic design and healthcare, I decided like I needed a whole new upgrade. So I redid my website, and I'm loving it. And I did it myself, so I was really extremely proud of myself for doing that. I've also created, and it's coming out soon. Again, a lot as this entrepreneur, I do a lot of things myself, and there's some things that I source out, but the majority of the things I do myself, so that takes a little bit longer for me to get it done. But I am almost done. I just have to like check it through. I have a freebie coming out, and then what it is, it's a checklist. It's called the Powerhouse Brand Checklist. And it's a checklist of the visual marketing assets that a business needs to help market their business, and just things that you need to keep in mind so that way everything stays consistent. So when you have a business, you want all your marketing assets to kind of be consistent in the vibe, the color, the fonts, all that stuff, just so that way people can recognize you. So like,
Yeah.
if you do one thing and it's like big and bold, and then something that's simple, like people are going to be like, they're not going to know that it's you. So it's just a checklist of marketing assets to think about. Make sure that they're cohesive. And so I have that. Then I have the Powerhouse Brand Playbook, which I'm really excited about. And so the way I approach design is that for me, there's three major components when you're designing your for your brand. The first one is going to be your brand identity, right? You need to know who your like what your brand is, and I'm not just talking about like your colors and your font and the visual stuff. I'm really
Yeah.
talking about like the messaging, like what's your vision, what's your mission, why did you start your business, who's your
Yeah.
ideal client,
What are
what do
your
you want to
values?
do, right? What do you want to do, like all that stuff. So in the
Yeah.
playbook, there's a whole section dedicated to brand identity and making sure you have it all down. Then the next part is actually, and something you can relate to, your copy, your messaging. What is your messaging? What are you going to tell, what do you want your ideal customers to know?
Mm.
How do you want to educate them? What do you want them to know? So making sure you have things to tell them that are like educational, but also like kind of like behind the scenes, because you want to build that know, like, trust factor.
Yeah.
And so in that section, I believe it's about 50 journal prompts just to help you get thinking about your message and like copy information that you can be sharing with your audience to help build that relationship with them. And then the last part is the graphic design part, right? So once you have your brand identity, then you can create your messaging, and then what comes next is the design part. So
Yeah.
design is basically taking your written message and converting it into a visual message. And why do you want to do that? It's because people learn differently, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm a very visual learner. I need to see it, I need to show it, like I want to see it, I want to see pictures, I want to see videos, as
Yeah.
opposed to reading it. Some people could read it and just learn everything real quick. So you want to be able to communicate your message in as many different ways as possible for the different learning and the
Yeah.
different inputs and ways that people have.
Absolutely.
So those are the three things that I really strongly believe in. So I created this playbook. We help you with your brand identity. It helps you with copy journaling. And then in the graphic design parts, it tells you some graphic design tips. It tells you a list of marketing assets to keep in mind. And then it's like how you can all put it together. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Me too.
And
Sign me up.
I got you. Don't worry about it. And so like it's all done. It's just again, it's right now what's I'm working on is the tech part, putting it all together so it can flow out easily. And
Yeah.
again, that just going to show it's it's a challenge for me. It's something that I've had to learn to do. I actually also did hire someone to help me with it, so that was big for me too, just to ask for help. But I
Yeah.
realized I'm like, you know what, this tech stuff and this funnel stuff and this, yeah, that's
Yeah.
just not my
It's a
thing. So
lot.
and I don't have the time for it. So I'm actually doing that in business and with the kids, which is really nice. So, like I asked my neighbor to watch the kids for a little bit the other day, which is really big for me. So I'm really excited about that. But again,
Aw.
it's all those little things of being able to ask for help, saying this is not
Yeah.
my strong point. I need your help. So
Yeah.
that's been really big for me.
Well,
Um,
and that's huge too. I love that you're speak to give somebody the opportunity to help you too, because I want to help people as much as humanly possible, right? Within me, or within boundaries, but that was really hard for me to learn as well. Asking people for help. I noticed almost as a fear response, I would ask them and I would just kind of like get kind of afraid of what they would say. And then they'd be so nice about helping. They wanted to help, they wanted to be part of it. Some of them would even be like, I was waiting for you to ask
yeah.
me. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say something before? You know?
I've done that quite a few times this year, and like every time I ask, it's like the person, it's like, oh my God, yes, of course I help you. Like it's not
Yeah.
a problem. Are you sure
And
it's
then
not
you're
a
like, why did it take me 43 years and
really?
15 weeks to finally do that?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it, girl. I get
And
it.
then I know for me it's a trust issue. I have trust issues. Again, based on how I grew up. But now I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Like they're gonna be kids are gonna be okay. Like
Yeah.
or even just trusting my oldest to stay with the little ones while I go do a Target pickup or something like that. Like
Yeah.
what? It's gonna take me 20 minutes. Like 5 minutes to get there, 10 minutes to wait, and 5 minutes back. Like you'll be okay
Yeah.
for 20 minutes. Like
Yeah. Yeah, and this workbook, not to take us off that topic, but the workbook and the playbook sound incredible. So
thank
where can people Where are you hanging out? Where can people find you, and where can they get this playbook?
Yep. So the playbook now. Okay. I plan to have it out. What's today? Today is May 5th. Cinco de Mayo, baby. Okay. It's gonna
No,
be.
Mexican
um
night.
I made a really good dinner. I made a Mexican-inspired dinner for the kids. It was really nice. I did a taco bowl with
Oh,
quesadillas. They loved it. Um,
oh
and then I had them help me cook it, so I loved it even more.
my.
Okay, going off topic. Okay, so I was planning to have it out by May. I'm gonna give myself May 15th. It'll be out. So after May 15th, come check out. You can come before May 15th. Come check out my website. It's mommyworksdesignstudio.com. So it's MAMI worksdesignstudio.com. There you get to see my services, learn a little bit about me, see some of my work, see some of the places that I've been in the media, which is really exciting. And the playbook and the checklist are going to be live on there. So keep checking back for it. I'm also always on Instagram. That is my social media platform of choice. I find it easier. And LinkedIn is underneath my name, Michelle Barzalo. Instagram is Mommy Works Design Studio. So yeah, feel free anytime, reach out anytime, connect with me, message me, tell me you heard me here with Leslie. I love to talk all things design, all things motherhood. Oh, actually, also definitely check out Instagram. I just started a brand new series. I forgot to mention this. It's called Brand Like a Mommy. So 4 days a week, my little ones go to preschool, and so I have 30 minutes in the pickup line because picking them up is a science. Let me tell you, like you have to get there at the right time to be in the right spot to get the right kid.
Yeah.
So I sit there for 30 minutes, and so I'm gonna come with messages from my mobile office because I get to actually get some work done when I'm there.
Yeah.
And it's called Brand Like a Mommy, and we're gonna talk about design, we're gonna talk about motherhood and everything else, and all creativeness as well. So I actually just posted my introduction post. I did the first the first video today. So come follow me there, come check it
I
out, and
love
make
it.
sure don't hesitate to ask questions or ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're there for it. Well,
I'm here.
Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story today. And thank you for showing us what's possible when we embrace the pivot and let our creativity lead, and how powerful it is when we step into our calling and just listen to our intuition. Because sometimes it's not pulling us away from something that we truly love. Sometimes it's an effort to marry those things. And your journey is so incredibly beautiful. It's a beautiful reminder that healing doesn't always look like going back to what we knew. Sometimes it means building something completely brand new with the same heart. And to our listeners, if you're in healthcare or wellness, if you've stepped out into the scary world of entrepreneurship and you own your own business and you need some help, mommyworksdesignstudio.com and Mommy Works Design Studio on Instagram is a great place to find her. She can help you with all your design needs. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle. I'm super excited.
Thank you, Leslie, for all of your support and for having me on the show. You are amazing.
Oh, thank you. You are too. See you
Thank you.
soon.
See you soon. Bye. Thank you.